I remember that day. I never forgot it. That a slave could take revenge against an emperor.
Did you know that Ridley Scott almost turned down making Gladiator 2? In fact, even Russell Crowe, the star of the original, felt slightly uncomfortable with the idea of a sequel without him. Yet here we are, 24 years after the original masterpiece, with a sequel that would change the Gladiator legacy forever. One decision, one controversial story, and boom, we got what might be the most divisive historical epic fail of the decade. After multiple delays and endless speculation, Gladiator 2 finally arrived in theaters. The marketing promised an epic continuation of a beloved franchise, with stunning visuals and a fresh take on ancient Rome. The trailers teased everything fans wanted: exotic locations, intense battles, and a story that would honor the original while blazing its own path. Even the casting seemed perfect. Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, and Pedro Pascal. What could go wrong? But something did go wrong. Despite impressive production values and some standout performances, many fans left theaters feeling confused and dissatisfied. For a movie that made some of the boldest choices in historical epic filmmaking, from CGI sharks in the Colosseum to reimagining famous Roman emperors, why did it leave so many feeling underwhelmed? In this video, we're going to break down the 7 reasons why Gladiator 2 has epically failed. But before we dive deeper, as always, here's a quick ask. If you're new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, please take a second now to hit that subscribe button. It's one small click for you, but a huge deal for us. Thanks. Number 1. The identity crisis. Let's start with the film's biggest fundamental flaw: its confused sense of identity. From the very beginning, Gladiator 2 can't seem to decide what kind of movie it wants to be. Is it a serious historical drama, a revenge thriller, or a fantasy-tinged spectacle? While the original Gladiator masterfully balanced these elements, the sequel stumbles between them like a wounded gladiator in the arena. The identity crisis is more evident in the film's handling of its main character, Lucius. In the first film, he was a wide-eyed boy who looked up to both his uncle Commodus and Maximus. Now we're supposed to believe he's transformed into Hanno, a hardened Numidian warrior with a vendetta against Rome. The transition feels jarring, especially since Paul Mescal's performance, while competent, seems to channel Russell Crowe's Maximus rather than develop his own distinct character. For at least the entire first half of the movie, we're treated to a bizarre dance around Lucius's identity. The audience obviously knows that Hanno is Lucius, but the film treats this as some sort of mystery, complete with meaningful glances, cryptic dialogue, and dramatic music cues that feel more suited to a soap opera than a historical epic. Even more puzzling, if you've seen the first film, and worser still, the trailers, it's painfully obvious that Lucius is Maximus's son. The surprise already given away to audiences in so many trailers for the last few months. But this topic is something the movie treats as a shocking revelation in the third act, despite the studio awkwardly trying to maintain it as an official mystery in their pre-release marketing. The narrative confusion extends to the film's tone as well. One moment we're watching a gritty survival story in the deserts of Numidia. The next we're thrust into political intrigue in Rome. And then suddenly we're watching gladiators fight CGI sharks in the Colosseum. The original Gladiator knew exactly what it was: a tale of revenge wrapped in a historical epic. This sequel feels like 3 different movies fighting for screen time. Number 2. The plot holes. Perhaps the most glaring issue is how the film handles Lucius's backstory. In a 2.5-hour movie, we get virtually zero explanation about what happened to him during the past 16 years. Was Lucilla's plan really to send him away and never see him again? The film suggests we might see some tragic shipwreck or disaster that altered their original plan, but instead we get a throwaway line about him being found wandering and adopted into an African community, a plot point that raises more questions than it answers. Even more baffling is Lucius's animosity toward his mother. He's angry at her for saving his life? The movie never properly addresses why Lucilla never attempted to find him, or what the original plan was supposed to be. Was she being watched too closely by Rome's spies? Did she believe he was dead? Did she try to find him but fail? These are not minor plot holes, they're fundamental gaps in the story that undermine the emotional core of the film. The way the film handles this mother-son relationship is particularly frustrating because it wastes the talented Connie Nielsen, who returns as Lucilla. Their confrontation scenes feel hollow because we don't understand the full context of their separation. Instead of exploring this rich emotional territory, the film rushes through its reconciliation to get to the next action sequence. This confusion about Lucius's identity and backstory creates a domino effect throughout the entire narrative. Without a clear understanding of who our protagonist is and what truly motivates him, his journey feels mechanical rather than emotional. He goes through the motions of a revenge plot because that's what the script demands, not because we feel the weight of his personal stakes in the story. Number 3. The predictability problem. One of the most frustrating aspects of Gladiator 2 is how predictable it becomes, largely due to its own marketing and basic setup. When Pedro Pascal's Marcus Acacius is introduced as a disgraced general in the synopsis and we see him fighting in the arena against Lucius in the trailer, it completely deflates any tension about the planned overthrow of the emperors. We know it's doomed to fail before it even begins. Similarly, the film telegraphs its punches so obviously that there are few genuine surprises. From the moment Lucius's wife Arishat appears on screen, any seasoned moviegoer can predict her fate. The film seems almost proud of its predictability, as if following the blueprint of the original Gladiator was more important than crafting something unique. Number 4. The Emperor Problem. Then there's the matter of Emperors Caracalla and Geta. While Joseph Quinn and Fred Hetchinger give it their all as the Mad Emperors, their portrayal highlights another fundamental issue with the film. It struggled to balance historical fact with entertainment. The real Caracalla and Geta were sons of an African Roman emperor and a Syrian woman, a fascinating historical detail that could have added rich complexity to the story. Instead, the film whitewashes these characters and reduces them to caricatures of decadence and madness. Their rivalry, which historically was intense and complex, is simplified to the point of parody. The movie depicts Caracalla as the younger, more childlike brother, when historically he was the older and more domineering sibling. This change might seem minor, but it's indicative of the film's larger problem, sacrificing historical authenticity and dramatic potential for simplified storytelling. Even more problematic is how the film handles their eventual conflict. In reality, Caracalla murdered Geta in front of their mother, a shocking act of fratricide that could have made for compelling drama. Instead, we get a convoluted plot involving Macrinus's manipulation, which dilutes the impact of this historical moment and robs these characters of their agency. Number 5. The Spectacle Problem. While the original Gladiator balanced spectacle with substance, Gladiator 2 often feels like it's trying too hard to outdo its predecessor, leading to some truly bizarre creative choices. Let's talk about those sharks. Yes, sharks. In the Colosseum. While the Romans did stage naval battles called naumachia in artificially flooded arenas, the addition of sharks crosses the line from historical drama into pure fantasy. It's as if the filmmakers didn't trust that a naval battle alone would be exciting enough. They had to add man-eating predators to up the stakes. Talk about jumping the shark. And then there's the rhinoceros scene. While the Romans did use exotic animals in their games, the idea of a gladiator charging into battle atop a rhinoceros like some sort of ancient cavalry unit is pure Hollywood invention. These moments don't just stretch historical credibility, they snap it completely. Which leads us to the next problem. Number 6. The historical authenticity. The film's approach to history is particularly frustrating because it ignores fascinating, real historical elements in favor of fabricated drama. Take Macrinus, played brilliantly by Denzel Washington. The real Macrinus was a Mauritanian from a wealthy family who rose to become a Praetorian prefect, already an interesting character arc. Instead, the film reimagines him as a former slave turned manipulative power broker. While Washington's performance is undeniably compelling, this change represents a missed opportunity to explore the actual social mobility and diversity that existed in the Roman Empire. The real Macrinus' rise to power and eventual fall is a fascinating historical tale that didn't need Hollywood embellishment. Number 7. The visual disconnect. While Ridley Scott's direction remains visually stunning, there is a strange disconnect between the film's aesthetic choices and historical reality. The movie's Rome feels too clean, too polished, lacking the gritty authenticity that made the original Gladiator so convincing. Even more jarring are the anachronistic elements that creep in. Characters drank coffee in cafes centuries before coffee reached Italy, and read folding newspapers long before the invention of the printing press. These might seem like minor details, but they contribute to a growing sense that historical accuracy was not a priority for the filmmakers. The final concluding verdict. So, what ultimately went wrong with Gladiator 2? The answer lies not in any single flaw, but in a combination of factors: prioritizing spectacle over substance, sacrificing historical accuracy for manufactured drama, and failing to understand what made the original special. The film demonstrates that even with talented actors, a legendary director, and a massive budget, you can't force lightning to strike twice, especially when you're more focused on recreating past success than crafting something new and meaningful. And there you have it. So, what do you think about Gladiator 2? Did it live up to your expectations, or do you agree that it missed the mark? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with related videos. This video was made by movie fans for movie fans.